Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 78, Atiba de Souza. His story, search engines, giving Google what they want, and video content marketing. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are with Atiba. And Atiba de Souza, right?
De Souza.
De Souza?
De Souza, yeah.
I think I got that right on our intro call, but, of course I'm going to mess it up here. Anyway, good to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We are going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey today, your story, and how you became the awesome person you are today, doing what you're doing today. And you're really into video. So you're like a video pro, and you help people with that. And you also know a lot about teams.
Yep.
I'm going to actually be on his podcast soon, talking about teams. That'll be fun. And you also have a podcast.
I do.
So got a couple things you're juggling there. So,
yes, indeed.
So let's get into it. Where do you want to start with your story?
Well, first, Matt, thanks for having me. Really, really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here and be with you and your audience too, and sharing these stories, because I think it is super important for us as entrepreneurs to share these stories, because entrepreneurship is so freaking lonely, and it doesn't have to be. But most of us still go it alone, right? And hearing these stories kind of help you really understand you're not alone. Other people have gone through this. I can find a tribe. I can find a crew of people that I can actually hang out with, right? So my story, I would say, officially started actually in high school. And it started in high school when this was the mid-90s. Websites were still like, what is a website? Most people still didn't even have a computer. Yeah. And someone asked me to build a website for them. Okay. And a friend of mine, I said yes, had no clue. Great salesperson, had no clue how to build it. But I knew somebody who did. Right. And I went over to his house, again, still in high school, went over to his house one day after school, and he pulled up Notepad and taught me HTML.
In Notepad. Oh, yeah. Good old Notepad. Yeah.
Yeah. So my journey in the technical world started in Notepad, writing awesome. HTML for this very first website way back in the mid-90s. The two of us then included somebody else, and we started our first company that year in our senior year of high school, okay, which we called Script Computer Consulting, because we were cool computer consultants in the mid-90s.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you were right at the beginning there. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. And so we were building websites for people, okay, because nobody else knew how to do it. Funny story, we actually created one of the first animated GIFs online in 1996.
No kidding. Yeah.
It's still on the Wayback Machine.
Is it?
Okay. It is. But that, and I'm sharing this genesis of the story, because the genesis of this story is, for so many of us, even though that company dissolved, something that happened in the midst of that company is what has carried me through all of these, 25 plus years later. And that was, we had a problem. And if you're in business, you're probably in business because you had a problem and you had to solve it. And once you solved it, you realize somebody else has this problem, and they're willing to pay you to solve it for them, right? And our problem was the web was young. We were doing research on the internet in 1996 and saving bookmarks. And we had hundreds of bookmarks. And they meant nothing because we couldn't remember what each one of them was.
You couldn't search them or anything. You didn't have any good mechanism to actually organize them.
Exactly. And so the three of us sat down and we wrote a search engine.
No, that's
and we wrote a search engine just to search our own bookmarks.
Using using HTML?
Say again?
Using HTML?
No, we used Perl back then.
Perl. Wow.
Yes, we were using Perl.
Fancy.
Oh man, were we ever? Right? So for the real geeks listening right now, okay, I'm getting geeky for you for a moment. So we were using Perl with a flat file database behind it. And we were reading a flat file database on the web. Yeah, it was great, guys.
Groundbreaking. At the time, probably was. Yeah,
it was, because this was pre-Google.
Yeah,
we were doing this before Google was a thing, right? Okay, we had Excite and Alta Vista. But there's another one I'm forgetting right now, right? Or you went to AOL and typed in a word.
Yeah.
Okay. But then we started selling that to clients. The fact that we can integrate site search into your website. And so in 1997, we were selling websites with website search.
Wow. That's awesome.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's when people say, hey, you're an SEO, you know all of this about video SEO and all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, I've been in search for over 25 years.
Long time. Yeah. Yeah. Holy smokes.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, that's mid 90s. I mean, not much was going on in the mid 90s. I mean, even the websites were just HTML. There wasn't CSS in it yet, like styling or all the back end code you have today, or databases and all that stuff. It was just flat sites and some content on there. But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't even like involved with. I've been online for like 20 years. I built my first website 20 years ago, so that predates me. I think Google was just. When did Google come about?
So we really started seeing Google, what, 98, 99?
Yeah. So they were already established.
Right, but they didn't become a thing till like 2000, where people actually started knowing, and the term Google became a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't Yahoo before them, though? Yahoo was around.
Yes, and so that's what I was going to say. So Yahoo was before them, right? And then Excite, Alta Vista, and oh my gosh. Remember Ask Jeeves? That one too. There's another one. It's slipping my mind right now. But they were before them. Right? But yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool to think back that far. Like, man, what a long, strange trip it's been. As they say. Yeah, so wow. So you're building search engines in the mid 90s for websites. And where does that take you? That blow up for you?
Well, so what ended up happening there is about 98, 99 into 2000, the business started to fall apart. And it started to fall apart because even though I was bringing in clients, my partners were like, yeah, we want to go do other things with our lives than run a business. We want a job, and we want steady income and all this other stuff. And so it put me in a bit of a juxtaposition, if you will, right? Because I had just landed a really large client who, at the time, get this, they were a physical magazine that was trying to go online and put all of their past episodes, or not episodes, what's the word I'm looking for?
Issues?
The past magazines.
Issues,
thank you. Online and make it searchable. And that's what we were building for them, was the ability to search all of that online in 99. That's where we were in 99. Okay. So we were doing that 99 into 2000. They left, and I was faced with a real decision and a real dilemma. And then a friend called and said, hey, I'm a headhunter, which I knew, for a company, and I'm going to lose my job if I can't place somebody. And I've got this gig that I think you can do. Right now, my partners had just kind of left, and so it was just me. Yeah. And I was in this place, like, okay, well, I mean, it's just me, so okay, I'll listen. Let's go. Let's see what you've got. And so I went in as a consultant into this company who was doing government consulting. Okay, and I'd never done government consulting before. Never thought about doing government consulting before. But they were a logistics agency doing work for the federal government and various state governments around the country. Okay. Ended up landing that, ended up building a team with them, and ended up building systems with them for various states and federal agencies, the largest being, which is so hard to even say, but it was a $10 million system for the EPA that we built started in the end of 2020 and went to 2022, not 2020, 2000, and went to about 2002. And that was a $10 million system that basically, as data came into the EPA, so that's air, water, ground, sewage, everything, anything that the EPA gathers, they need to be able to search and pull data out of. And so we built the search system for them to do that.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. So that's where I was there. And that was it was great. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, even as a subcontractor with a team, it was great money. They were paying great. It was awesome. But I hit a really tough place in about 2003 with them. And that was, and you may find yourself in this place too with clients. So we built this system for the EPA. They spent all of this money and we proved that it would work because they weren't sure that it was going to work. So we proved that it was going to work. And now they wanted to expand the system from $10 million to a $100 million system and make it even bigger, grander, bolder. Awesome. And then they fired the agency that I was working with.
Oh, jeez.
And decided to hire someone else, scrap the $10 million and start over.
So you basically created a prototype for them that they could be like, well, this can be done, but maybe we can find someone to do it bigger and better, something. It's crazy.
Yes. Now, that ate at me to my core. And so this is what I'm saying to you. Sometimes you have those clients and you do what is great work for them and they devalue your work and you realize that's not the type of client I want anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, the money was great. Yeah, the experience was great. Yeah, the story that I can tell 20 years later is great. But the truth of the matter is, in the time, it felt like crap. Absolute crap, because you had just put blood, sweat, and tears into building something that was good, and you throw it away?
Yeah, so you know, and just not to interrupt you, but, you know, it is a common story where that kind of happens, especially when you're working for somebody else, not even his clients and stuff. I mean, I worked for a company for a few years. We built something awesome. Well, I thought was awesome. You know, it was something like you were passionate about search. You loved what you did. You loved building this thing. And it was the same for me. I just put the blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, built a team. We did a lot of awesome stuff. And then the company decided they were getting out of that business. And here you are, you have so much invested, like everything, your emotions, your psychology, your everything's wrapped up in this thing. And now it's, you know, nothing, you now know nothing's going to go on with it, or there's going to be phased out and, you know, it's just going to sit there. Yeah. So I can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a 30-person team that we built. This wasn't like some tiny little, this was 30 individuals and all of their work. Poof, gone.
Yeah, that's a tough thing too. Yeah.
that burnt me out, excuse me, from the government side. And it's just that, people talk about government waste and government, not here to get into politics, but that was my experience that said, I'm done. I'm done. I can't. Right. And so they ended up hiring this other agency. The other agency came in and made a massive, massive mess of the whole thing. They fired the other agency, scrapped everything that they did. And then the system, as of 2015, they were still using the system that I built.
No way.
After all of that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean,
absolutely hysterical.
Well,
absolutely hysterical. But it proved the point. We built something that was great and it worked. Yeah. Right. So after the government, I left government and came more on the private sector side. Right. And on the private sector side, started realizing right around that time. So this is now, you're talking 2003 into 2004 to 2007-ish. Okay. In that time of trying to find my way, which I was lost for a little while. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Those were some tough years in there, trying to figure out where am I going next. Right. One of the things that I realized was that Google had a major problem with search. And their major problem with search was they existed to provide quality content to a searcher. And there were all of these people who were manipulating search, especially in those days. Okay, you had the link farms, and the phantom content of putting it in white at the bottom of the page to fool the search engine. You had all of these tactics that people were doing to get junk content to the top of search, and Google was having a problem. And so I started looking at that problem, and then at the same time, my clients were also hipping me to a problem that they were having. And I realized that both sides were having the same problem. The client is trying to communicate to their customer, and they're trying to get great information across to their customer, and they're not sure how to do it because they're communicating and the customer isn't really understanding because they're talking insider language and, whatever speak that they do. Yeah. Likewise, Google is dealing with all those people, marketers, people like me, which I eventually became a marketer, who are, tricking the system to get junk content to the top.
Yeah.
And so it was, how do we solve both of these problems? And that is also the time when the term SEO started being born in the world, if you will. Yeah. Right. And I realized that my background of understanding search engines from the inside out, right? Understanding what is the machine trying to do? What is the algorithm built to do?
Yeah.
Right? If I can understand what the algorithm is actually built to do and what it's trying to accomplish, and then figure out, okay, customer, my client, how can I help you communicate better to your end client? And we can match those two up. We can create content that will rank. And that's what we did from 2008 through 2020.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so I've been around for like 20 years. First decade I was online. I hung out with a lot of those people that were doing everything they could to rank. So especially I was in the affiliate marketing world, and it was kind of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was, we did pay-per-click, a lot of pay-per-click, but we also did SEO, and there was a lot of black hat stuff going on back then, and you're trying to, do everything you could to get in those upper spots for monetary reasons. And, but at the same time, and we'd grumble about it, even on the pay-per-click side, a lot changed in those years. But where Google introduced quality scores and introduced you have to have a landing page. At first, you didn't need a landing page for us for
Nope.
pay-per-click. And then you had to have a landing page, and then they had a specific. This is how the landing page had to look. It couldn't be an island.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be. So I went through all of that stuff, so I could totally adhere. But at the same time, at the time though, you don't think about how it's harming the merchants or the people that have legitimate sites that want to get in front of their audience. And so it's good to know there was people like you out there trying to solve that problem for them.
Yes. Yes. And you know, and the thing here is, and this is for me, is I'm always all about understanding what it means to win for everyone. And if you can really understand what it means to win for everyone and design something where the majority of the people win, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, I've ranked over 3,000 pages on page 1 of Google in my career. And it's because I figured out what is it that Google wants and what is it that my clients need. Yeah. How do we marry those two things together? Let everybody win. You know, as a quick aside, for anyone who, let me get a little geeky again into SEO, okay? If you're dealing with someone who is helping your brand right now with SEO, and they create content for you and they say, hey, we want this content to rank for this keyword. And they create the content, which they should do, right? They should have a target. And then 3 months later, the content won't rank for that keyword. And they say, well, we need to update this content so it can rank for this keyword. Ask them this question. What keywords did the content rank for? See what they say. Okay? Sometimes they don't even pay attention to that. And the key here is if they pay attention to that, you don't argue with Google. It's kind of like, listen, I'm married. You don't argue with your wife. You're not going to win. It's just, you're just not going to, you don't argue with Google. Okay? If you create a piece of content and Google says, I want to rank it for this keyword, but you wanted it to rank for that keyword, guess what? Say, Google, okay, you like it for this keyword? Great. Let's optimize it for that keyword. Let me go create a new piece of content to try to get you to rank for the one I wanted.
I love that. Yeah. That's true. When you follow your analytics and look at what's really actually like the more longer tail, the longer phrases and stuff, it is interesting because you can go after even especially now. I mean, it's really, really difficult. There's a lot of competition that's grown over the years, and especially in certain niches. But you know, you can still go after that keyword, but yeah, like you said, pay attention to what else is actually happening there. And then optimize for those things. That's really good advice. I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and on that point, to try to actually segue us, if you will, here, that's what I ran into in about 2020. Okay. So I said, I've ranked over 3,000 pages now on page 1 of Google. That's just page 1. I mean, and we've done a lot, right? But we started running into this challenge that, yes, people are getting smarter, which is a good thing, right? There are content creators who are getting smarter. It's a good thing. Not upset about that at all. But it also means now it also is getting a lot harder to rank in search, even for the longer tail keywords. It's just becoming harder, which is exactly what you were just saying, Matt, right? And so I started looking at the industry and saying, okay, what's next? Where are things going next? And that's where I was in 2020. And what I ended up coming back to is something I started in 2018. So in 2018, I got this great idea. He's great to me.
That was a great idea.
But I had this idea in 2018 to create a video series for one of my clients. And I pitched the idea to them as a content, where we should go with their content, right? And they said, that sounds wonderful. And we don't have the budget to do video, and we don't have the budget to do that. And so I took the idea, as most of us do, and I shelved it. 2020, as I started looking out and seeing a lot of the problems. And what are the problems that I'm saying? So we already talked about one, becoming harder to rank. Mm-hmm. Number two, in 2020, you also had a lot of people who lost their jobs and who decided to go take a course and then call themselves either an SEO or a Google Ads expert after taking one course. Okay. And then they took a course on running Facebook ads or ads on some other platform. And then they put out all of these other courses and started charging people money because they were great at what they were doing after one course. Okay. And so we ended up with going back to where we were in the early 2000s of people really manipulating the public perception about what's real. And so I started seeing a lot of people buying these programs and then failing because the people putting them on didn't actually know what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw that as a problem. And why it was a big problem is because obviously 2020, pandemic, everybody needed to figure out how the heck to get my pages ranked because I need traffic. I no longer have feet coming into my door. I no longer have whatever I had before. I need people on my website, and I've never done it before, and I need to do it now. Okay? So we've got it becoming harder to rank. We've got more people trying to rank. And we've got people selling not the greatest products in the world.
Subpar. Yeah.
Subpar. Great term.
Yeah.
And I just started having these conversations, and I had over 1,000 conversations with business owners on Facebook in 2020. Okay, I created a Facebook group and had people coming in and out and having these conversations, asking them questions and trying to learn and understand what were the problems that they were facing, right? And then, and just like I did way back in the early 2000s, that, okay, business owners, this is the problem you're having. Then I went and I said, okay, Google, what is the problem that you're having?
Sure, but first you'll have to unlock the device.
Okay.
Speaking of,
well, you see, the problem we were having was my phone deciding that, I said the G word too many times. So these things happen, y'all.
Yes.
But what was the problem that the G people were having? And that's when it started to hit me that what Google was running into was, yes, there is tons of blog content, tons of website content, but people's attention spans were shortening. The rise of Instagram, the rise of TikTok was happening. And Google started to say, the only way we can compete against them is if we double down into video. Not just, the cute YouTube videos and the cat video, but we need our actual business owners and our actual thought leaders and our actual people who are great at what they do to create more video. So the same content that they were creating in blogs, we need that in video. Google went as far in 2020, 2021 to start reclassifying its database to say, hey, these are the keywords and the key phrases that we want to rank video for first. So I saw Google's problem. I saw the client's problem. And said, let's put them together. Let's give Google what they want, and let's solve the client's problem at the same time. And that, my friend, is how we are where we are today as a video content marketing agency now.
Video content marketing agency. Yeah, that's well positioned. Yeah. Yeah, video is becoming.
Thank you.
Video is becoming, obviously, it's between social media. So, like us personally as an agency, we finally started marketing like a year and a half ago, and I coming from my background, it's like what I knew the paths we could take. I could do pay-per-click advertising. I have a ton of experience with that, so I could spend some money. SEO, start a blog. I started a blog. and social media, content, video. All of that stuff was in play. We actually did also some direct email, which actually did better than I thought it would. But through all that, we still do the SEO baseline, you know, optimizing the pages and stuff. But really, our focus became social media, content, and then this past half year, we started doing more video, and it feels good. It feels good that we're in line with what you're doing and you're saying. But that's from our experience. That's it. I think that's one of the things that I always think about in my business is what can I do more than the average competitor is doing or the average person or business is doing? Like, how can I stand out? And obviously that's why I started this podcast. Not everyone does podcasts or, you know, can stick with it or do it well for long periods of time. That's how we can stand out. We can use that as content. We can also, and then we started doing video with that too, doing clips and all this stuff. But that's something that like other people aren't all doing. They don't even, maybe they even have a podcast, but they don't do all the other things we do with that podcast. So it's always finding ways to stand out. And I think that also complements, you know, like I said, with what Google's, I love that you're going back to this, you know, not fighting Google, but figuring out what Google, is that you or me?
So unfortunately, that's my garage door open.
Oh,
so I was trying to hit the mute button so that you didn't.
That's awesome.
And, it's going to happen one more time when he closes it.
It's all good.
So I don't know if you want to pause and just wait
no.
to close the thing.
No, I love it. This is organic. It's like this is the real deal. This is live, not scripted.
It is not scripted.
But as I was saying, you know, seriously, like I think about that with Google and stuff, and you know, you can't fight Google. We tried for years, and you just end up like stressed out and burned out. But it's figuring out what they want and providing them what they want, and video is obviously seeing what we're doing, but also what others are doing and hearing what you're saying. It's like, that seems like if you really want to step up and compete in the future, you got to figure out how to do it. But there is it's challenging. Like for me, maybe you can speak to this a little bit. So for me, I, again, going back, back in the 2000s, I also had memberships. I did a lot of content in terms of training, but it was usually screen share, but it was also audio. Okay. So even back in like 2004 or 5, I was doing audio, but I remember hearing my voice for the first time on audio and was a little embarrassing, a little self-conscious. Like tough. I sound ridiculous. But I did it and I got used to that over time, just doing it volume, you know? And I had done some maybe video with me on it periodically, but nothing like, a lot. But then I had a conversation. And so even with my agency, like I was kind of avoiding that. Even with this podcast, the first 31 episodes were audio. And so I was comfortable with that. And then I had somebody on Vova. He owns Freemius. And he was on the podcast. And he's like, "You're doing video?" I'm like, "I'm not." He's like, "Why? Why aren't you doing video? It's another piece of content you can use and do, you know," like he didn't have to say more. I'm like, okay. He just talked me into it. And ever since I've doubled down on video and so, but again, part of that was my confidence and, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm not, you know, super handsome. I'm, you know, I'm going to be growing old in front of everybody. I'm 51 years old, you know, those type of things. Everyone's got that. Like, you know, you feel self-conscious, you know, going on, you know, now at this stage, I don't even care anymore but and one of the things that I did was one of the things that really helped me, and it sounds really silly, is I got on TikTok in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a lot of the comedy stuff where you lip sync some funny bit. And I did literally probably 500, 600, 700 of those videos, probably only posted a couple hundred, but that's what I was doing for like a year and a half. And I built up a nice little audience, like 5,000 people. I put it private now. I kind of don't want that out there anymore. But that, however, being as crazy as I could be on video, after that, like I feel like it doesn't even faze me anymore. Like I can be goofy or just have fun and just be myself. And so that really built that confidence just doing it. Do you have any tips for people that maybe are a little shy and aren't, like, yeah, I know video's really important. We should be doing it. But I don't know if I want to be on camera. What do you say to those people?
So I got a few tips for you. And first, let me start by telling you a little bit of a story. So at this point, I have personally, much like you, Matt, recorded hundreds, if not thousands of videos. And I've probably listened to 10 of them myself. So
you just record them and you're done. Yeah.
Listen, I used to record on my phone and then open the YouTube app and upload right away and walk away. Okay. And that was my early days because I didn't want to see myself. I didn't want to hear myself. I didn't. And I still don't. To be honest, I really, really still don't. Okay.
You seem like a natural, like you're nothing to worry about.
That's the thing. That's the thing is you don't become a natural until you have the TikTok experience or you post enough of them and you realize, like, literally there was one that I had like a booger hanging out of my nose and it did so well. You're just like, really?
That's the one that's gonna blow up.
Come on, guys. But that's what it takes. And it takes building the muscle and it takes realizing that you just got to do it. So that's number one. Okay. If you're doing it on your own, if you're not going to do it on your own, what I'll tell you is hire a coach, hire somebody like me, because with our clients, we handhold and make the process simple, easy, and fun. Yeah, it can actually be simple, easy, and fun. And that's what we provide for you. Again, getting back to solving problems. Like we knew our clients needed to create video, but it created another problem. They didn't want to get on camera. So then we had to figure out how to help them get on camera.
Yeah.
And so we made it simple, easy, and fun. So you hire somebody like me who can help you do that. Okay. So that's the other way that you can do this. So those would be my two big kind of tips there for you. Right. But here's the real that I need to tell you. And it's funny because I just did a video on this. What is today? Wednesday? So I think I did this on Sunday, where I had gotten out of bed, literally, guys. I got out of bed and I was thinking about this. I got out of bed and I went in the hallway. I turned on the worst hallway light in my house, the hall with echo, and I shot a video and I said this: your audience wants to connect with the real you. And hear that there's a garage going on in the background because your kid just got home. Your audience wants to connect with the real you. They're not looking for polished.
Yeah.
They're not looking for perfect. You got to clear your throat. They understand because it's human.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's okay. It's okay. They want to connect with you, so connect with them. Connect with them.
Yeah, but a lot of people talk about being the authentic you, the authentic self, and being authentic online. But what does that really mean? It just means being yourself. And that's the best route for me, because it's kind of like, talk about people that lie all the time. They always have to it's really hard to lie all the time and keep the lies straight. Yeah. But if
right.
you tell the truth all the time and you're honest all the time, that's way easier, because you don't have to stress about remembering what the lie you told last week was, So it's the same way with just getting online and being yourself. You're going to be a little self-conscious at first, but like you said, all those things, all those imperfections is actually what you don't want. People don't want to watch things that are overproduced. I think there's some genres.
There's some value in it for certain.
There's some genres, maybe educational genres and stuff they're a little more polished, but you don't need to, do that for a lot of businesses. You just get on there, talk about your thing, educate, have fun, be yourself. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
The Russell Brunson, if you guys don't know him, go look him up. When you go watch his videos, you'll say, oh my gosh, he's amazing. He's awesome. But one of the things that I've loved about Russell Brunson and learning from Russell Brunson over the years that I've learned from him is he's always very clear to say, I know you see me today, but I've never taken down my first videos. Go watch those. Go see where I started to realize I was a hot mess. It was awful. Absolutely, absolutely awful when I started.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the interesting things is he's also said that I tell a lot of my clients is, look, it takes about 40 videos before you actually start to find your voice. So let's get through those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Let's get through those. And it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Well, because like you're saying, everybody, no matter how good somebody or who they are, how popular they are, if they're a guru or whatever, everyone starts somewhere in the beginning. And it does take time, even from, we could talk about video all day long, but, even from just the technical standpoint, it takes you time to figure those things out. I had audio problems for a long time, and then I got a new mic. But, that's a process that everyone goes through. That's awesome. This is great. Like I said, we could talk about this for hours to come. We'll have to have you back just to talk about video. But so if somebody is looking to get help with video or find that confidence or work with somebody to help them in their business, where can they find you? And you got a website? Where are you?
Yes, absolutely. You can hit the website. If you want to reach me directly, find me on LinkedIn, Atiba de Souza on LinkedIn. Okay. I think I'm the only one on there. My son might be on there. He's a junior. Right. So if it's a younger, more handsome looking version of me, it's him. Right. No, but you hit me on LinkedIn or go to my website, clientattractionpros.com. That's clientattractionpros with an S.com.
Awesome.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah.
What about your podcast? Tell us about your podcast.
Oh yeah. How dare I forget? Which you can also find on Client Attraction Pros. So I actually have 3, to be completely frank and honest. So I have one that's called Traffic Keys. So it's both video and audio, whichever format that works best for you. And we also have it on the blog on my website as well. And Traffic Keys is all about understanding organic traffic. So we get in and dive into all things SEO. Okay. Traditional SEO, video SEO, and we're about to start adding in there as well, TikTok SEO. Okay. So all things SEO on Traffic Keys. Then I have my Build Your Team show, which Matt, you're going to be a guest on. Thank you very much. And there, especially if you're a business owner, we all do things in our business, but what makes our business really successful often are some superpowers that we have that we apply in our business. And I've been blessed, and that's all I can call it, with the ability to build and manage and keep and retain and train great teams. And so we created the Build Your Team show to, 1, share some of my knowledge, and then 2, interview great people like Matt who also have this talent so that they can share with you and you can learn. And then the third one is Thoughts on Thought Leadership, where we talk about how to build your thought leadership in your industry using video.
Cool.
Those are my three.
Nice. Well, it's great having you. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
Yes,
Take
sir.
it easy. Thanks, everybody. Bye. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.